Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
Wednesday, and all of our guests today are brought to you by our title sponsor, Able Auctions, ableauctions.ca. Delaney's OK Tire and Langley inbox. Delaney's also the sponsor of our Old Man Kane.
Yep.
Ella, I feel bad for Sam. His name is being made fun of so much. I think we should stop.
I just said his name. It's not me. You laugh every time there's a name that
No, you're the one who brought up Black Betty.
I just said Sam Lamb, and you started.
I never liked that song. I don't know why. It just kind of bothered me.
Black Betty's a great song. It just gets
shockingly you like it.
It's a great song. Hey, Black Betty, it's a great tune.
You would play that on a loop along with Girls Just Want to Have Fun, like all day long, washing the car.
In a cassette.
From Sakaris and Price and the Rink-Wide podcast and the Hockey News, we're joined now by Jeff Paterson. Jeff, thanks for doing this. How are you?
I'm good, Donnie. Hey, Rick, I just want to know, did Rick sing Black Betty to Sam Hallam? And if so, is there a tape of that? What would Sam think? Like, imagine if you just picked up the phone, called the guy, and started belting out Black Betty to him.
He's a real nice guy, Jeff. He's a really cool, calm, black guy. I'm not going to sing Black Betty to Sam Lamb. Come on.
I wonder if he's heard it before. Like if he's heard his name in reference to that song.
Well, you don't think that song is played in Sweden? Of course it is. It's played all over the world, Black Betty.
It's
a world-renowned song.
I'm not familiar with the Swedish charts.
In fact, Team Sweden uses it as their pump-up song, I think, before they hit the ice.
Hey, Black Betty.
Okay, before we talk NHL, something near and dear to your heart, the Western Hockey League, the playoffs. Jeff, Kamloops at Seattle. Both teams 8-0 in the playoffs going into the series. It starts Saturday. I say Kamloops at Seattle because that's where the first game is, technically. Kent, Washington. But what about the entertainment value that this series is bound to serve up, Jeff?
Well, it's unfortunate for the Seattle Thunderbirds, not just that they're taking on the Kamloops Blazers. That's unfortunate for them. That Seattle team is an absolute juggernaut, and they've got this team at a time when all of a sudden hockey's hot in Seattle. Maybe it'll work for them, but the Kraken are the talk of the town down there. Like I think people in Seattle should be glomming on to this Thunderbird team that absolutely has a legitimate shot at winning the Memorial Cup. And of course, Kamloops is the host team, so Kamloops has a berth in the Memorial Cup. So Seattle has to win its way in there. But you talk about star power and first rounders and just like. You're right. Like Seattle absolutely crushed Prince George in the last round, took them out in 4 games, outscored them 25-5, I think it was. So they're just mowing through opponents. Mind you, Kamloops has no problem scoring either and took care of Portland in that last round. So, it's been a long time, obviously, since I've been in Kamloops, but have always kept an eye on that team, kept tabs on them and players that they've produced to the NHL. But I'm back into this team big time and have been following from afar here. Still have this outside hope of getting to Kamloops for some of the Memorial Cup, so we'll see how it goes. But, terrific hockey at that level, and obviously right now, of all places in the world, Seattle, a hockey hotbed. How about that?
Yeah, and I bring it up because, Jeff, you worked for a long time in Kamloops, and there's so much star power in that series. Now, speaking of Seattle, we asked this question yesterday, Jeff. What do the Kraken have? And we all know how they're doing in their first-round playoff series against Colorado. What do they have that the Canucks don't?
I think they've got speed through their lineup. They certainly have scoring depth. And right now, they've got this belief, obviously. And I know you guys talked about the size on the back end. Mm-hmm. You look at the way, like they're tied with the defending Stanley Cup champs. And they're going into Game 5 here tonight. So through 4 games, Seattle's leading scorer is a defenseman, Justin Schultz, with 5 points in the 4 games, like pretty pedestrian totals. They don't have a guy that scored more than 2 goals in this series yet, and yet they have 11 different guys that have put a puck in the net in the first 4 games. So that's how they beat you. They're relentless. They keep coming at you in waves. They've got this forecheck. I thought when they hired Dave Haxtell, we've seen this a lot through sports. The head coach of an inaugural expansion team is generally hired to be fired, sort of a sacrificial lamb. And I wasn't sure that he was going to make it out of the first year. And now all of a sudden, This guy looks like he's done some. I think he'll get Coach of the Year votes. I would imagine that Jim Montgomery in Boston is probably the runaway winner, but we'll see what the ballots say. But Dave Haxtell has these guys buying in. And the other thing, too, Donnie, they're doing it without Andre Burakovsky, one of their best players who's been out for a while now. And so, again, hats off. I don't know if they're going to beat Colorado, but damn, they have put a scare into the defending champs. And now without Cale Makar tonight, what an opportunity for Seattle to get a leg up and come back. And you talked about, Saturday night in Seattle, start of that Western League Series, but imagine the scene for a Game 6 if they could eliminate the defending Stanley Cup champs.
Jeff, your thoughts on Paterson not going to the Worlds? I like it. He's a star player. Last thing they need. You saw what happened to OEL last year. I think it's a good thing he's not going to the Worlds.
Look, injuries, they happen. You can't ever bank on that. There was no guarantee that he was going to go and get hurt. So, he's a player. He wants to play. It's disappointing that his season here ended. I like the fact that he wanted to continue to play. And quite frankly, just as an observer, anytime Elias Pederson is on the ice, I'm all for it. I like watching the guy do his thing. And I would love to have seen him perform on the big ice at the Worlds. But I also understand he's got to take a big picture view here. And this is obviously an important summer for him and his camp if they're able to hammer out a new deal with the Vancouver Canucks. So, a little disappointed just because I think he wanted to go play. But from a Canuck perspective, and how many times did we hear down the stretch Rick Tocchet reference the big summer ahead? Yep. And look, that's, it doesn't just apply to fringe guys and guys that are trying to make the team. It's got to be a big summer for their star players as well. And, I don't know how much more room there is for Elias Pederson to improve on 102 points, but, he continues to round out his game. I think that there is probably a little bit more to give a full season under Rick Tocchet and the structure and the system that the Canucks have. So, he's reached a level of stardom. I hope he can stay there for a bunch of years. And if he uses this extra month where he's not playing at the Worlds and uses that to train and hits the ground running next season, then I'm sure from a Vancouver Canucks perspective, that's probably a good thing that, his training wasn't impeded in any way. So probably a little disappointed just because I think he wanted to represent his country and get that opportunity, but also understand the business implications. So you can't insure a contract that doesn't exist. I think I understand that part of it, why they, ran into the snafu with the insurance. So unfortunately for Team Sweden, it's going to be without one of its star players.
Abbotsford at Calgary tonight, game 1 of their second-round American Hockey League playoff series in the Saddle Dome, which is going to go away fairly soon. We find out this week that Calgary is getting itself a new arena. How badly was that needed in southern Alberta?
Yeah, without a doubt. Saddle Dome is one of, Madison Square obviously is the oldest, but it's been refurbished a couple of times. But it's unbelievable for people that haven't been to the Saddle Dome. And again, I can't really speak to the view from the stands and the seats. I've only been a spectator there once in my life, but the Calgary Flames have the smallest locker room by far in the National Hockey League, smaller than most of the visiting rooms around the NHL. I'm amazed that they haven't been able to knock down a few walls in there while they've been tenants and just give the Flames players a little bit more. We're at a time when you're trying to attract free agents and all this talk of a practice facility here in Vancouver, the luxuries that these guys expect. And they've just got, I've been in minor hockey dressing rooms that have been bigger than the Flames. So yes, absolutely. It's time. I know that it's been a big political football there in Calgary, but let's hope that this time they do move it forward because absolutely they're in need of a new facility there. As for Abbotsford, and I heard you talking about this, Don, I love the fact that there is a decision to be made, that there's some intrigue before the series even begins, where the higher seed has the choice to pick home or away to start. And I guess, and I haven't seen anybody from Calgary side, but I would think in a short series, the idea is start at home, make the most of home ice, and then head out on the road and believe that you're a good enough team that, you can get one of the 3 games you need. But you're right. If Abbotsford gets the split, then, that turns that series on its ear. They come back home, and I say split. Hey, go and try and get both of them there. But even if they somehow get the split, then you come back to Abbotsford and you know that you've got the final 3 games, including a deciding game if necessary. So I don't know. I just love the intrigue. I hope I live long enough to see some pro sport somewhere allow the higher seed to pick its opponent. I think that would be a fascinating wrinkle in sports. I don't think it'll ever get there, But damn, I would love the bulletin board material, like the storylines that would emerge if you let the higher seeds pick their opponent in the opening round of some sort of playoff series somewhere. I sign me up. I would be all for that.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Jeff, thanks for this. Appreciate it. Talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Jeff Paterson from Sekeres and Price, Rink Podcast, and now the hockey news.